Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome to Simply Cyber Live, the long form, once a week, Thursday, 1 hour interviews where we bring on industry guests in the cybersecurity industry, people who are just straight up crushing it to share their experiences, share their knowledge with us, make us better, and basically continue to just really enrich the Simply Cyber community. And we have one of our own today. I'm super pumped. Tyler Ramsbey, you guys know him. If you went to Simply CyberCon and you had the opportunity to catch Tyler's talk, he was one of the very first speakers and really set the tone with an unbelievably inspirational and moving talk on mental health. It was I felt seen, frankly, when I heard his talk. He hacks, weekly on a schedule, but he's hacking all over the place. He's got CVEs, which is one focus that we're going to be having today. What's a CVE? How do you get a CVE? How do you report a CVE? And does it really actually make a difference on your resume? Because I'm always spouting that a CVE is a gold on your resume, but Tyler's got him on his resume. Let's see what kind of responses he has. As always, I strongly encourage you, in fact, I implore you to jump in chat, say what's up, drop questions. This is an interactive experience for all of us. It's going to be all about good times. I'm going to go get Tyler, and we're going to just absolutely shred this interview. Let's go. All right, my man Tyler's in the house. What's up, Tyler?
What is up, Jerry? And hi, everyone in chat. It is truly an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Tyler and I were talking right before we went live, looking at all the wonderful people in chat. Now, Tyler does have his own Discord server and community that he works with. And there's some, cross pollinating, if you will. I want to say shout out to Leon Nunez. Leon, I have been calling you Leonardo in streams since you showed up and started dropping knowledge bombs on OSCP. And Tyler's like, oh yeah, Leon, yeah, he's a good guy. I'm like, oh my god, I've been calling him the wrong thing. So shout out to all the friends, all the squad members. Kimberly, I see the mods in here. So Tyler, I mean, what is your experience like? I know we're going to get into the CVEs, but you do content creation. You have Discord. You're connecting with the community. What has your experience been like? Just being kind of a content creator and interacting with a community and kind of this it's asynchronous, but it's also synchronous if you're engaging with chat.
Yeah, so probably a little bit of my background. I'm going to do it very short. We can dig into this if we want to, but actually spent 10 years in pastoral ministry. So I have like a master's of divinity. If no one knows what that means, that's totally fine, but was in that world for a long time. But it did give me what I think is a superpower, which is the ability to communicate. I'm super used to talking in front of people and communicating. And if you can do that in the IT field or in pen testing, you're able to accelerate your career, at least from my experience. So during the COVID pandemic, that's when I switched over to IT full time. But believe it or not, I really started IT on a full time basis just about I think a little less than 3 years ago. I was an IT support level 1, went from that to a manager, went from that to an analyst, and then somehow social engineered my way into a pen testing role, which is where I am today. And I've been pen testing now for I think about a year and 4 months. And then on the content creation side of things, I had this dilemma, which I know many in chat probably have the same dilemma. I wanted to be a pen tester, but I also live in the state of South Dakota. Now, you may have heard of BHIS on the other side of South Dakota. They're like 8 hours from me. I'm on the very boring side of South Dakota where we just have prairies, and I live in a town of 1,000 people. So, like, pen testing, even technology in general, is not a big thing here, but I wanted to be a pen tester, but I didn't have a way to get that experience. So I just started making YouTube videos. And what I did is I would jump on Try Hack Me, and it was like, I'm already doing this for learning. I'm just going to live stream myself making silly mistakes and stumbling my way through rooms and labs and see if anyone enjoys it. So I started making YouTube videos. And then me and my friend Nate, who I know is over in chat, we both wanted the OSCP, the gold standard for pen testing, but we both had this issue where we would start, get distracted, and not go back to it. So I was like, yo, dude, let's just meet once a week on, I think it was Facebook or Zoom, and just ask each other, how did this past week go? What are your learning goals? And that turned into what's called the Work Smarter Discord community, where it almost 4,000 members globally, and that's still our blood. Every Monday, we host a weekly goals meeting where we encourage everyone to answer really two questions. What did you accomplish this past week? What are your learning goals for this upcoming week? And it has grown pretty wildly from there. Have had the opportunity to meet some cool people like Heath Adams and Matt Kiley and John Hammond. So it has been a journey. I think I answered your question in a very roundabout way, but that has been my experience in like 3 minutes.
No, it's awesome. And shout out if you got a link for the Discord server, or Nate has one. If someone could drop it in chat, we'll definitely throw that up. It sounds like a great experience, and accountability, it does go a long way. I mean, it's easy to, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm not in the mood right now. But when you have accountability, and that you're going to get on that meeting on Monday, you're like, I can't show up with my hands empty. So yeah, definitely drop that. I could see people like JB asking how do they get to the Discord server. So right
Yeah,
there,
Justin Gold just dropped it. Yeah, he comes in clutch. Can I share one thing, Jerry, on that Discord?
Yeah.
So one thing I'm going to be launching next week is coaching, but way different than the other YouTubers do coaching. So here's what I'm doing. I just did a group coaching session this past Monday. We can go into that, but we're doing one-on-one coaching with me and a few other leaders in the industry. But here's the difference. We're not charging you money. Instead, what we're asking you to do if you want one-on-one coaching is to give any amount you're able to a nonprofit of your choice. We don't care about the amount. And if you do that, we're going to do one-on-one coaching, whether it's resume review, mock interviews, helping you get a roadmap. And so just stay tuned for that as well. We're going to do coaching, but it's not going to be, hey, pay me $500 and meet with me for 30 minutes. Pay $5 for all I care to a nonprofit, and we would love to help you with your career. So yeah, if you're not part of that community, join, and I'll be posting all those updates this upcoming week.
Wow, that's awesome. So there you go. Justin Gold dropped that link in there. Again, I'll leave it up here for a minute because if people have to type it in or whatever, I'll leave it there. But definitely sounds like a cool opportunity. How many coaches do you have?
So right now we're at 4. The 2 I can share about publicly are me and Tinas, also known as Amoeba Man on Try Hack Me. So if anyone, he's a head of consultancy for a pretty big pen testing company, content engineer for Try Hack Me. So if anyone has ever gone through the AD networks on Try Hack Me or the Red Team Capstone, he is the one who designed all of that stuff. So super intelligent, and once again, donating this time to help people break into the industry. And then we'll have pen testing. We have a senior analyst on the blue team side who will do coaching, and we have someone who's a senior on the DevOps cloud side who's going to help people break into that field. So we're covering a bunch of fields, and once again, not a way to make money, just a way to give back to the InfoSec community at large.
That's awesome. That's a really, really awesome initiative. Have you given it a name or anything? Like, I mean, like something that you can like easy to tell people about?
Yeah. So, I mean, our communities work smarter. So it might just be work smarter coaching, something along those lines. But
yeah,
honestly, this is totally like, I saw some posts of people charging a bunch of money to help people break into the industry, which I don't want to hate on that per se. But in my perspective, if you're a pen tester, you make enough money that you don't need to charge people to meet with them and help them break into it. So I'm like, I'm just going to take that, turn it on its head, and help people for free and see what happens.
Yep. I love it right there. Like, look at you. Leon's saying you're amazing, absolutely crushing it. So it's very, very cool. So let's make sure that we do talk about the thing that we advertised, right? Can't be duping people here. So, and then I do want to get back into the YouTube stuff later and stuff, but finding CVEs, Tyler, how many CVEs do you have attributed to you right now?
I have 8 that are publicly disclosed, and I have a 9th one that's in the reserve state, which we can talk about, that will hopefully be disclosed next week.
Awesome. So you've clearly been around the block, 8 times at least at this point. Let's start at the 50,000 foot and work our way in. What exactly is a CVE?
Yeah, so I think I'm going off memory. Common Vulnerability and Exposures, I think, is what CVE
stands
for.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to put you on the spot for an acronym. I always forget what the E stands for too.
I think I did it right. Chat might correct me.
I always say Common Vulnerabilities and E. Like that's so yes. So anyways, please continue.
Yeah, so generally what a CVE is, often it's in an open source software that you're able to actually look at the code, you can spin it up locally. And when you find a vulnerability, the way the process often works is you work with the vendor to let them know about the vulnerability ahead of time so that they're able to patch it before you hopefully release a CVE to the public. And you also go through an organization like MITRE, provide them with the vulnerability details, and then they provide you with the CVE identifier, which is just an easy way, almost like you think about the cataloging system of the US government, the Library of Congress or whatever it's called, where you're cataloging all these things. That's sort of what a CVE is like. It's a catalog of vulnerabilities. So when you're running a Nessus scan, doing an assessment, doing any type of scanning, we have a standard library for some of these vulnerabilities. Now, the thing that's confusing though is it's not the same as bug bounty. So I've also done some bug bounty work, but bug bounties are a little bit different because often the bug bounty is in a private organization's like website, for example, and it's not an open source code. You don't like get a bug bounty and then publish it on a blog saying, hey, here's how I hacked that company, unless you get permission to disclose it, but often you don't. Instead, your award is you're getting paid money. On the other hand, CVEs, sometimes there is a bug bounty program, but most of the time you're not making money per se from the CVE itself, from finding it and disclosing it. Instead, the value add is one, you're just making software more secure. We are finding the vulnerabilities in software before the real threat actors find it. And then we're working with the vendor to help them patch it, make sure they're aware of it, so they can let customers know, hey, we have this vulnerability, patch this before the real threat actors also discover this. And so it's almost like this investigation. We're making things secure by hacking them, which is a lot of fun, but also by being very responsible on how we talk about it, on how we disclose it, and doing our best to help get it more secure before, once again, the real bad guys get after it.
Yeah, I love it. And now I know again, I'm such a like to call myself a pen tester is completely inappropriate. Like I dabble, right? I dabble, um, but I know on bug bounty platforms like HackerOne, for example, where I'm a member, but like, you know, like I created an account, right? So there's the bounties and then there's the non-paid bounties, which I want to say the acronym is like VCD. Does that sound right? Or like there's like
I know what you're
basically
talking about. Yep.
yeah, so there's the paid bounties, and then there's the ones that it's like usually like U.S. government sites and stuff like that, or state sites where there will be no money paid. I was just wondering if you knew for those ones, do you get a CVE? Because it is an important distinction if you don't get CVEs, no matter what you do on bug bounty platforms.
Yeah, so it all depends on the organization and on their software. Generally speaking, if the software is open source, meaning you can access the code, or maybe it's a virtual machine that you can download and you can host locally, if you're able to find a vulnerability in something like that, it will generally, I'm saying that generally, I'm not going to say always, because there's always going to be a situation where it's not correct. Generally, it will qualify for a CVE. On the other hand, on a government side of things, once again, if it's just a government website hosted by them, it's a private vulnerability in their infrastructure. It's not a public vulnerability. Therefore, it's not going to receive a CVE identifier. It
I
still
see.
looks cool on a resume, right? You can say I found this many bugs in whatever website or whatever government agency, but you don't get the cool CVE numbering scheme with those.
Yeah, no, the CVE is that's the you get that framed and hung on the wall, for sure. Okay, so I hear you on the open source stuff, and it makes sense. Now, when you say open source, I got a fun question for you. So let's just pretend it's 2016 and you are taking a PhD in cyber ops from Dakota State University, and one of the classes is advanced reverse engineering, hypothetically. And the class's assignment is to pick a piece of technology, reverse it, and find a 0-day in it. And let's just say you chose a Zixel NAS 326, and then you reverse the firmware, which is not technically open source, but you can get it. And then you find a 0-day in it, and then you give a talk at B-Sides Charleston on it, but you don't go through the process for the CVE. Does that still qualify as a CVE? And because it's not open source versus reversing firmware?
I would think so. Once again, don't quote me on that because I personally don't have any CVEs in that kind of category of software,
Yeah.
but it would generally qualify for a CVE, especially if it's something being used publicly by other people that you would want them to be made aware of. Why didn't you submit it for a CVE? Let me ask you that. Well,
Well,
hypothetically, let's say hypothetically, why did you not hypothetically submit it
so
for a CVE?
hypothetically, I didn't want I didn't want to be individually. No. So I tried. So we're going to get into this, but
Yeah.
I've never like understood how to submit these bugs. I didn't want to contact Zixel.
Okay.
I didn't know about, or hypothetically, I didn't know about, like, like Bug Crowd existed at the time, but like, I wasn't going through a bug bounty platform, so I didn't have that manner. There is it's either CISA or I think it's CISA. There's some organization, a U.S. government agency that you can go through and basically be faceless behind it. And I reached out to them. I did send them an email, and they didn't get back. What?
You hypothetically reach out to them.
I mean, if I'd done it, I would have sent that email, and then they probably wouldn't have replied. And then I just left it because I was like, whatever. And then hypothetically, I will say that some other researcher found the same thing and disclosed it about 2 years later. And I had to cover it in, I either covered it in the daily threat briefing, or I definitely read it and was like, oh, well, there you go. I guess that is.
That's amazing.
CVE. Yeah, pretty cool. Hypothetically. So, so what's your, I guess you've submitted at least 9 CVEs. What's the workflow for that? Like, soon as you find one, do you have like a moment, or is it just like, oh, I guess that's a 0 day?
Yeah, so maybe even to back up a little bit as far as finding it, because I think that's where most of the confusion comes into. Like, what software do you look at it in? How do you get that software? So maybe just briefly on that, the way that I've done it, and there's multiple ways of doing this, but many of you have probably heard of Docker Hub. Jerry, you probably heard of Docker Hub.
Yeah.
Docker Hub is a spot where you can download Docker containers, which are often open source. You can then access the code on the GitHub. So that's what I would do. I go on Docker Hub and I try to look for official Docker images, because that means it's actually being used by people. Because the other thing to keep in mind is you might be able to get a CVE on software that hasn't been updated in 6 years and is not used by anyone. Like, maybe you can get a CVE to make your resume look cool, but like, if no one's actually using the software, and it's not going to have any type of impact. So I go to Docker Hub, and I'll often sort it by something like a CMS, for an example, because CMSs are often vulnerable to different types of injection. You think about cross-site scripting. So I'll find one that seems like it might be a good fit. And then what I'll do is I'll take the name of that organization and look to see if they have any CVEs assigned to them in the first place. If they have at least one CVE, then I know, hey, this organization at least knows what a CVE is. So if I find a vulnerability, it's not going to be, pulling teeth out in order to get them to recognize it and go through the process with me. Once I have that, I'll spin it up locally. And really the benefit of having it spun up locally, such as in a Docker container, is you can perform dynamic testing both on the web app side of it, but you can also be on the actual system and you can see what's happening on the system. So you can monitor for things like RCE. I know if anyone's done a CTF, you may have heard of Process Spy, PS Spy. You can run that on the Docker container, and then you can do different things on the actual web app and see, hey, can I get any type of command injection from the web app? So we can monitor it in both ways. But then, because you also have the code, you can do some static analysis. You can follow things in GitHub, see if you can figure out any interesting system calls that might be being made, so you can test that further. So once you do that and you find a vulnerability, and it could be something as simple as CSRF, maybe cross-site scripting. But once I find a vulnerability, I'll give a very clear example. One of the things that's publicly disclosed is something called CVEs, which is CMS for staff. It's used by government agencies over in Europe, I think, is where a lot of people use CVEs. And I initially found cross-site scripting in the way that if you send a message to an admin and you just have to evade some basic XSS defenses, when the admin clicks your message, it's going to execute in the context of their browser. Okay, cool. That's technically a vulnerability, but I wanted to weaponize it. So from there, I looked into it further. What can I do with that? Well, with JavaScript, you can often do anything the victim can do. So I studied what does it look like for the admin to make me an admin. Then I sent a payload to the admin. So as soon as they view my message, I become the admin. And then in CVEs, there's something called Silver Crawler, which allows you to essentially get full access to the back-end file system as root. So it wasn't just cross-site scripting, but it was cross-site scripting leading to full file read on the back-end server. So when you find a vulnerability, you want to ask yourself the question, how do I weaponize this? How would a threat actor actually use this so both the vendor and MITRE see it as having some impact? Once you have that done, there is a very simple form on MITRE. If you just go to MITRE CVE form, if you Google it, you're able to pull it up, and it asks some very basic details about the vulnerability, asks you for a POC on how you did the vulnerability, asks you if you've contacted the vendor, if the vendor has responded, and you submit that to MITRE, or submit that to MITRE. And generally within, yeah, right there's the form.
Very,
Generally,
very, like literally
it's super easy. You
yeah.
do have to, once you fill that out, it'll give you more forms to go through. But
Okay.
I have actually a YouTube video on my channel about how I got 8 CVEs in 10 days or something. I don't remember the exact title, but I
All
actually
right.
bring people through that entire form, and I fill it out just like I did when I found it. There it is. How I found 8 CVEs in 2 weeks. That's the video where I
Yep.
walk people through that form, and I even walk through my exact Docker Hub like CVE hunting process, how I found those, and the process I did in order to get to that. So I explained that in that video, but the process is a lot simpler than I was initially thinking, at least submitting it to MITRE. The more difficult part probably is working with the vendor and getting them to acknowledge the vulnerability in the first place. So we can chat about that. But there is a lot of moving pieces when you're working with this. It's not just, yo, I found a vulnerability. Now I have a CVE. Sometimes it takes, and I even shared this with the Rhino team, to be annoyingly persistent when the vendor or MITRE doesn't get back to you. It's just a matter of every single week being persistent, being annoying, and making sure you get some type of response.
Yeah. I can tell you hypothetically that is true. They will not reply to you initially. So hey, so okay, so like obviously the vendor is going to see it as kind of like a pain in the butt, right? Like unless they're like, "Oh, cool, like this is great. We like making our products secure." Um like are you having to like argue with them? Do you have any recourse for them, or does MITRE come in and be like, "Okay, like this is legit?" Like is there an independent third party that can weigh in?
Yeah, so I can answer that now from experience. My first CVEs that I found, the organization acknowledged it right away. Super easy to work with. They even patched it in their GitHub, provided me with that information. So they were really easy to work with, and they were actually interested in securing their product. What I did for them though is I had a full POC, and because I make video stuff, I even recorded like a full video walkthrough, like I do on YouTube, saying, "Hey, my name's Tyler. I'm going to show you how I exploited this," and I walked them through it step by step so they could reproduce it on their end. Now, another vendor I've worked with just recently, I submitted the vulnerability to them, and they told me because of some things I can't share on stream right now, you guys will see it when it actually comes out, but it didn't fit within what they would count as a vulnerability. I'll say it that way so I don't give too much away. I
Mhm.
responded to them saying, "No, I believe you're wrong, and these are the specific reasons I believe you're wrong." And they responded again saying, well, actually, they didn't respond. I emailed them again a week later saying, "Hey, just wanted to follow up. I still think you're wrong. Let me know your thoughts on this." And they just said, "No, we still have our same stance. We don't see it as a vulnerability." So what I did is first I consulted with my team at Rhino. So I work at Rhino Security Labs, and this is huge, y'all. I stand on the shoulders of giants. So the people at Rhino are way smarter than me. So they've helped me very much along on this process. So I'm not just winging it myself. I have a team of people. If you just look up Rhino Security Lab CVEs, we have a bunch of CVEs, some really cool ones like full RCE, full unauthenticated RCE at times. So we have a lot of CVEs as an organization. So there's a lot of experience at Rhino that I'm able to bounce ideas off of. But anyways, at that point, when the vendor refused to acknowledge as a vulnerability, I then just submitted everything to MITRE. And to MITRE, there's a spot for additional comments. And in the additional comments, I just included my email thread with the organization, including my rebuttal on why I think it's a valid vulnerability. But that's where I had to be annoyingly persistent. My first CVEs that were acknowledged by the vendor, I had what's called a reserved CVE status after like a week. For the most recent one, I had to email MITRE, I think 3 times. And I just like at the end of every week on Friday, I just emailed them saying, "Hey, get back to me. Hey, get back to me. Hey, get back to me." And they gave me the CVE. So being annoyingly persistent and just staying on the case, not giving up when the vendor doesn't acknowledge it. So it makes it more difficult if they don't acknowledge it, but it's still doable to get the CVE. And I would also encourage, if you work with like a pen testing company like Rhino, we have a vulnerability disclosure policy that tells you exactly what we're going to do if you do not acknowledge our vulnerability. If you do not respond to us, we'll probably still release it, but it's very laid out exactly what we're going to do. So it's not a surprise to the vendor when we release stuff that maybe they didn't acknowledge. So that's also, I think, important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, at some point, you at some point you've done what you can to give the vendor the opportunity to fix it, and then you need to go public with it. How much does lawyers get involved? You know what I mean? Because it's always a little dicey. Like I, for one, for example, went on Shodan one time, and I won't even say hypothetically. Okay, went on Shodan, found like just a gross situation. Did some OSINT, traced it back to a small little tax company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I emailed because I could tell what I was looking at. I knew the guy to email, and I emailed them and I said, "Hey, like, you don't know me. I'm not a hacker, but like, you've got a real problem right here. Like, you should do something about it." And they didn't reply. And I was like, "Oh my God." I didn't want to pursue it because I'm like, I might be incriminating myself somehow. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in 1986 gets wielded around like a multi-pronged, sword. So I didn't want to go that route. But so did you consult lawyers, and is your final communication with the vendor that form saying this will be released publicly, just so you know? So like, catch me on Twitter,
Yeah, so I've never had to deal with lawyers with the CVEs that I have done. It gets sticky in certain situations. So I'll give an example. I found it's the bug bounty side of things, but I wanted to write a blog about it on the Rhino blog to release this vulnerability I found. Long story short, on a pretty big platform, I found a way that I could steal I could get usernames, I could get the password hash, but I could also get their one-time passcode, so I could reset their password, and I have access to their OTP code, so I can just reset their password myself. And if they had MFA enabled, I had their MFA reset code, so I could essentially take over full administration of this website, and they ended up paying me a bug bounty for it. And then I was like, "Hey, are you guys okay if I disclose this? Like, I would love to write a blog post about this." And they told me no. And then when I was talking to people with more experience than me, by me accepting the bug bounty, I was agreeing to their legal terms of me not saying anything else about it, at least any identifying information about it. So when you accept payment for a bug, then you might get yourself in a legal place where even if you want to release it publicly, you are not legally liable. You're not legally able to do so. So when it comes to a CVE, you want to be very careful that you don't accept any type of payment or agree to any terms without having those reviewed by your team. For me, I'm part of a bigger team, so I don't have to figure that all out on my own. But that is a lesson that I learned through a bug bounty program that I wanted to publicly disclose. On the CVE side of it, you're not breaking any laws because generally you're doing this locally. I'm not going to these websites and going to their public facing website and trying to hack them. That's illegal if they don't have a bug bounty program. Instead, I'm pulling it down locally. So all this hacking that I'm doing is locally on my system. It's not going out to the internet at all. I'm not touching anyone else's data. It's all locally, and there's no law against me hacking my own app locally on my computer. So that is key. When you are fuzzing an app, when you're doing a web app looking for CVEs, do it locally unless there's a very clear bug bounty program with a very clear scope, so you don't get yourself in that legal trouble.
No, I love that. And I mean, for those who are listening to this and going to follow this guidance and go get some CVEs, you really got to make the decision. Because to me, what you basically just said leads me to think like, okay, so finding a CVE has value. Yes, there's righteousness to it and being able to secure, people who, are unknowingly using insecure technology. But it has value. So, and I want to ask you right after this about the value of a CVE on your resume and professionally and such. But so, hey, Tyler, like Tyler's software company, right? I found this bug. I can remotely take over everything. It's like the worst thing ever, 9.8 CVE. I want you to disclose it. And they're like, all right, I'll give you $50, right? Like something that's, inconsequential. And I'm like, well, no, because I'm going to publish that I've done this. I almost wonder if at that point you could be like, well, they'd be like, no, well, we don't want you to. And you're like, well, you have no right unless you want to give me 2,000, like whatever your number is, right? Like, I mean, I almost feel like at that point you have negotiating power because having a published CVE with your story, there's value to that. You can still be the righteous person and still help secure, but I almost think you have to do the calculus of what is the value of having a CVE, and like being able to publish that you did it and that you had the walkthrough and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I know it sounds almost a little too capitalistic, but at the same point, if you're going to take anything for it, it has to be, to me, worth what that CVE blog post is worth to you.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to think about. The only maybe clarification I would add, and I said this in the beginning, we need to understand that bug bounties and CVEs generally don't even fall into the same category. So you're often not even going to get paid for a CVE in the first place because it's in open source software. Sometimes there's a bug bounty program, but most of the time there isn't. So usually it's not either or. Either you get paid or you get a CVE. If it's a bug bounty program, you get paid. If it's not and it's open source software, you'll get a CVE. There are cases, and we've actually had them, where it is either or, and then it's a case by case basis. And that's where I think it's really important to have a team around you who has more experience than you do. We get ourselves in trouble when we rush headlong into things without having a team around us that we can bounce ideas off of. Maybe if someone's not part of an actual pen testing team, but they're part of the Simply Cyber Discord community, and they know some people from Simply Cyber who are actually pen testers, and they can start like a private chat with them just to get advice. So if you do find what you think is your first CVE, I would caution you to talk to someone who's trusted, who has experience in this field, before you make some of those common mistakes, and you'll save yourself a lot of heartache, maybe legally or financially. Hopefully that makes sense.
It certainly does. And I was actually just going to ask you, so say you find a CVE, right? And you're like, okay, what do I do now? I know you said go on the Discord server, but I mean, should you ask, I guess maybe pen testers, right? That's probably the group of people running around who's going to have that kind of answer, right?
Yeah, and for me, I mean, it's really easy because I'm at a pen testing company with a bunch of experience with CVE. So I'm just like, we'll post it in Slack, like, hey, y'all, pretty sure I found something pretty cool. What are your thoughts on it? And we'll often go back and forth and try to figure out how we're gonna submit it. So that's how I do it. But that's because I'm on a pen testing team. Whereas, hey, if you're not on a pen testing team, you should have some friends in the community. Like, if you don't have friends in the community, honestly, your networking is more important than your CV. Make some friends first, then find those CVEs, and your friends
Sure.
can help you figure out what to do.
100%. Networking is incredibly valuable. So, let's talk about the value of having a CVE. Like, to me, and again, I don't have one yet. All right. I want one. I guess I want one now. I guess hypothetically.
You want me to sell you one, Jerry? I'll find one and I'll sell it to you.
No. Oh my God. That's like such a poser thing. So anyways, but you put it on your resume. Are people just like throwing themselves at you, Tyler? Like, oh my God, did you get your current job because you had a CVE? Like, have you seen any material impact to you as a professional resource to businesses and whatnot because of having a CVE?
I got on the Simply Cyber live show. That has to count for something, right?
It is pretty VIP up in here, but yeah. So there's one thing for you. Yeah.
All right, well, I got one on the scorecard. So overall, I think CVEs are huge for your resume. We can all talk about like the OSCP. I also have the OSCP, and I might make some people mad, but anyone who knows me is not surprised by this. The OSCP is overrated. And I say it as someone who has it, and I passed it. When I did it, I was frustrated by the price of it. And I do not like these like gate holding certs. You have to get the cert to be a pen tester. So if you want to bypass the OSCP, you could get some CVEs, save yourself a bunch of money, and a prospective employer who's looking over your application. If you have one CVE or a handful of CVEs, that shows more real world experience than, hey, you passed an unrealistic 24-hour exam where you hacked 5 computers. Really, the OSCP is more like, are you good at CTFs? There's some pen testing on it, but it's really not a realistic exam. If you want a realistic exam, PMPT through TCM Security, shout out at them. But hey, if you want to bypass the gatekeeping cert of the OSCP, do some research on web apps, do some research on systems, and get those CVEs. I guarantee you, if you take the time that you would put into working through the Pen 200 course and just try to get CVEs, you'd be at a better spot in your career. More people would see that. For me personally, I'm not looking for a job because I have what I think is the coolest job ever. I get paid all the time to hack stuff from my basement, and I emerge from my basement once a year to go to DEF CON. So it's like the coolest gig ever to be doing what I do. But I did actually get promoted at Rhino, and I think finding CVEs were part of it. So at Rhino, we have associate pen testers, and the next level is a career or mid-level pen tester. But part of becoming a mid-level pen tester is being able to perform research on your own and finding things like CVEs. So that led partially to me in about a year being promoted to that mid-level pen tester level. If I was applying for jobs, I'd assume they would come in handy, but even more than CVEs, just my platform. So you would know this as well, Jerry, making YouTube content, meeting with leaders in the industry. If I had to get another job, I think I could probably just use my network and then
Mhm.
throw the CVEs in there as well as a mix, and I wouldn't be too concerned. So I think it's yes, CVEs, doing technical research is good, but also if you're comfortable being on video and talking, building a platform and giving back to the community at large is the best way to have a job security and to advance in IT.
Oh, heck yeah. Dude, like networking, I say it all the time, almost to like a fault, every morning. Networking is so valuable. I feel like a lot of people don't reconcile the value of networking because there isn't I do this, then this happens, like clear, 3 weeks. If I do it for 3 weeks or like 14 days, or if I talk to 200 people, I'll get a job. It's not that. It's much more organic, and everyone's experience is different, but it is incredibly
Yeah.
valuable. And you're 100% right. You're 100% right, Tyler. Like even like my own personal story, like I'm self-employed now, but my 2 jobs ago, I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but 2 jobs ago, the CEO called me like on a Monday at like 7:30 at night. I'm like, what? Okay. Like this is odd.
Yeah,
And
not good.
no. And he basically said like you're not going to get paid. Like there's some issues or whatever. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not working here if that's the case. And he's like, all right. So but literally I like made a phone call and talked to a different person, and I said, hey, like, do you want my services? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, here's my arrangement here. And they're like, done. You want to start tomorrow? And I was like, well, let me finish up some stuff here, just to be, a professional. But yeah, so that's the power of networking, being able to pick the phone up. Like that, to me, that's like next level networking, right? Like
Yeah.
where you can pick the phone up. But this is the impact of networking. And I know we're talking about CVEs, Tyler, but like I have this philosophical perspective. I'd love your thoughts on it in chat. If you guys have thoughts on this philosophical perspective, I'd love it. Your thoughts too. And I see all the questions. I've been flagging those. We'll get to those. I strongly believe, like, Rhino sounds like a great company, good people. It's still a company though. Like, I have this philosophical perspective that like you need to be the CEO of you. And even though you like sign up for a job and you're going to work there and everything, you're basically like contracting yourself out to that job. Now, it's not a contractor role, but you've got to think about that way. Like, you always have to be doing right for you professionally, because like UPS just laid off like 12,000 employees like yesterday. You can't
Yeah.
control that. You know what I mean? So if you're not taking care of you, and not having irons in the fire or being overemployed or anything like that, but I'm just saying you've got to take it seriously, or else you're at the whims of somebody else who you have no influence over on whether or not you're employed or not. Any thoughts on that?
Wisdom, dude. Such good wisdom. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And I got kind of a bad rap in the beginning of my IT career. I hopped jobs probably too much. Like, I swear I was at a job for 5 months and I switched jobs and was there for 5 months. But like, my goal was being a pen tester. I knew that was my end goal. So I was constantly changing jobs until I became a pen tester. But yeah, even as a pen tester, the reality is, and we even say this at Rhino, I say this on my live streams, I said this at Simply CyberCon, like, your job's not that important. So even outside of being able to find another job when you need one, we do have this issue in this industry of sacrificing our family, sacrificing our kids, sacrificing our health on this weird, like, altar of success. We all see people like John Hammond who are like genuinely friendly people, and but we want to be them. But you can't be John Hammond. I've tried, and I think I've made it to, like I said in Discord, like I think I made it to Walmart version John Hammond. I hope in 2024 I could be Costco version of John Hammond. But we cannot measure our success by these incredibly talented people that we see on YouTube. But we have to figure out what success looks like for us. And I would argue success is not just making more money. Success is being healthy. You could make a bunch of money, but yo, if your marriage is terrible and your kids hate you, I would argue that's not success. That's failure at the end of the day. So, yes, and amen to the fact that you need to recognize, hey, that job's not going to provide you with true, lasting financial security. But you should also have the recognition that, hey, if I need to change jobs for my health, let's do it. My wife has even asked me, because I've changed my career too many times in my life, like, how long will I be a pen tester? And the answer is, I love this. Truly the coolest job I've ever had. But if pen testing ever comes to a spot where it's unhealthy for me or my family, I'll literally just start a different career, and maybe I'll have a different YouTube channel about, selling insurance with Tyler Ramsbey, and I'll talk all about that, right? I'm willing to change it on a dime for my health and my family's health. So that's another important thing I think to keep in mind.
100%. I will tell you, Dave Kennedy said at Wild West Hackin' Fest the year before last. Well, and it was like a private conversation, but he said to me, pen testers make the best detection engineers. So if you are looking to pivot at some point, you want to go to the light side from the dark side of pen testing. Okay. Well, detection engineers are excellent prior recovering pen testers. I love it. Tyler, you want to take some questions from chat, man?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're just gonna rip through these. Chris K. Hall, a lot of friends in chat, guys. By the way, I see a lot of friends and familiar faces. What are some notable individuals or orgs that have made significant contributions to the field of CVEs? I didn't screen these beforehand, so
that's fine. Yeah. So I'll say I don't know organizations as a whole. My personal influence, of course, is Rhino Security Lab. So once again, to promote them, just go to Google, type in Rhino Security Lab CVEs. We have a bunch of them, and I have Try Hack Me machines that are coming out within the next couple of months that are literally based on CVEs that we found. I have one called Silver Platter based on the Silver Piece CVEs that I found. So I can't say big notable individuals or organizations, but for me personally, Rhino is where it's at. We are the number one pen testing company around. BHIS and TCM Security can fight for second place, but no, they're awesome as well. But that's where I learned everything I know about CVEs and research.
Wow. All right. So somebody call Bo Bullock, please. Tyler has called him out to the carpet here. Chris Whitlock wants to know, looking at OWASP top 10. I mean, the top 10 are pretty common. Is there any that are, web app stuff that you typically look for that may not be normal or, in top 10?
So this is in the top 10, but it's not defined really well when we talk about it, but it's the whole concept of business logic flaws. So it's there, but it's hard to test for. Burp Active Scanner isn't going to find business logic flaws. Now, real quickly, for those who may not know what that is, a business logic flaw is abusing the intended functionality of an application in a way that's malicious. So it really takes that hacker mindset. You have to understand, how does the application actually work? And how can I use it actually working? It's not a vulnerability. It's working in its intended way. But how can I exploit that for greater impact or to attack something else? So I'd say if you really want to be able to get bug bounties or CVEs, it's reading documentation, right? RTFM. I won't say what that means on YouTube, but read the manual, read the documentation, understand the functionality of the application, and then figure out how you can abuse the logic that's already there to attack stuff. So that is in the OWASP top 10, but I think it's something we miss out on because you can't just run a scanner and find a business logic flaw. You might be able to find cross-site scripting. Even then, for anyone who wants a Burp Suite Pro subscription for the active scanner, it's not that awesome in my perspective. Most of the things it finds on a real pen test is false positive. So you need to be able to do manual testing, but that would be one that I would encourage people to dig into.
Wow. Tyler Ramsbey up here just crushing what is it? Not contrarian points of view, but the OSCP, terrible. The Burp Suite Pro, terrible. Black Hills Info.
I like Burp Suite Pro. They're second place. I said second place. I didn't say them. They're awesome.
I know.
They're just not Rhino.
I'm now putting words in your mouth and setting you up. Yeah, no. It's good. It's just there's no sacred idols here on Simply Cyber when Tyler Ramsbey's visiting. I love it.
Absolutely not.
So Chris Weaver actually had a great question too. Going back to when we are disclosing vulnerabilities, do you have to use your legal name? Can you be anonymous? Can you use a professional name?
Yeah, no, you can do it however you want. Now, if you want credit for the CVE, you probably should use your legal name. But no, a lot of people submit these anonymously. There was even a recent Try Hack Me room on, was it the GitLab CVE, like the recent GitLab CVE?
Mm-hmm.
If I might be wrong on this, so someone can fact check me in chat, but I believe that was submitted anonymously. Like the CVE was submitted anonymously. There's no one credited with it. It was like submitted originally through HackerOne, and then the person did it anonymously. So long story short, no, you can use Tyler Ramsbey if you want, and I'll just take the CVE as well. Use whatever name you want to choose.
Sell it to someone, right? As you said, you're like
sell them to Jerry. All my CVEs before I report them, like, hey Jerry, you want this one?
Tyler,
$100.
Tyler brokers and black market CVEs, not the vulnerabilities, 0 days, and exploits to governments, just the CVEs.
Just the CVEs.
That's how you keep your yourself clean. Taekwon Gong's got a question around learning. How do you handle frustration? Everything comes easy to you, right, Tyler?
Yeah, like I told you, I'm Walmart John Hammond. So like the Walmart, whenever you see those memes, like we have that at home. I try to be like, when you have John Hammond at home, this is who you get. But frustration and learning, part of it, hey, if you're frustrated, it means you're actually learning. So I just want to point that out. Learning theory says that there's a level of frustration when it comes to learning, but there is a level, get myself in trouble again, but I don't care. The try harder mentality is a bad idea. That's why we do work smarter and hack smarter is what I talk about. So there is a spot when you're so frustrated, you just need to step away from it. Matter of fact, if y'all go to my YouTube channel during my OSCP journey, you can see these videos I made talking about this exact thing. There is a lot of wisdom in learning to step away and preventing burnout. So if you're doing a lot of CTFs and like boot to root machines and you are just getting too frustrated, getting too stuck, learn something else. Start learning Rust or start learning Python and learn a different topic and then come back to it. And things really begin to click. At least they did for me. The other thing I would say is find good courses. So when I was trying to become a pen tester, I was trying to do Hack the Box or Try Hack Me and just diving into machines. And then I would read a walkthrough because I couldn't even figure out how to scan stuff. And I'd be like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way I'll ever get to this point. How would I ever do that? And then I enrolled in TCM Security in their practical ethical hacking course. So shout out to Heath. And going through that course is when it really clicked for me. I took a bunch of notes, and that was really a turning point for my own journey where I had some of those main tools and I could teach myself that. So in summary, frustration is a good sign that you're actually learning, but you need to know yourself. You need to know when to step away, take a day off, take a week off, and then come back to it. And you will be impressed, amazed at how much better things go well when you have a fresh mind looking at the same thing that frustrated you.
I love it. And really quick shout out. I see Shirley in here, not a pen tester, but loving this. Love it, Shirley. Thanks so much. And by the way, I didn't want to interrupt you, Tyler, but we do have sound effects here. So I'm just gonna they've been queuing up. So as far as you, so you ripping on OSCP, you ripping on what was the other one you ripped on? Not Rhino, but
I said the active scanner on Burp Suite is like a lot of false positives.
I love it. No, it's so good. Let's keep going. Well, we got a super chat coming in. Nerman's always dropping super chats. Love it. Hello, Dr. Auger, Mr. Ramsbey. Could you please tell me about coaching one-on-one? I missed that part.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Thank you for the super chat, Nerman. And Tyler, would you mind just reminding, and Justin Gold, can you drop that link to Discord again? Please.
Yeah.
The one-on-one coaching.
Justin's already on it. Good job, Justin. So one-on-one coaching, we are going to be offering one-on-one coaching, me and a few other experts in the industry. But here's the difference between all the other influencers you see. You don't have to pay $400 to meet with me for 10 minutes, right? Here's what we're doing. You donate to whatever nonprofit you want to donate to, whatever amount you can afford. So I'm not even going to ask for a receipt because I don't want to make you feel bad if you can only give a couple of dollars. But when you donate to that nonprofit, you can schedule a one-on-one session with me or one of the other coaches, and we will sit down with you and we'll do everything the influencers are doing for you. But we're not trying to take your money. Our philosophy is we're good enough at what we do in the industry. We make enough money. We don't need your money when you're trying to break into the industry.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question, Norman. It's really good. It's over on Tyler's Discord server. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for Simply Cyber's Discord server because we're also pretty cool and doing fun stuff over there. Dude, $400 for 10 minutes is so funny. It's so funny.
A little bit of an exaggeration there. I mean, honestly, there might be some.
It's not even the money; it's the 10 minutes. Like, what you're not getting? What can you get in 10 minutes? I love it. All right, so let's keep going here through the chat. The questions are amazing. You guys are all absolutely amazing people. Let's see. Have you ever gotten anything tangible or non-tangible from your company? Does Rhino Security reward you above and beyond your paycheck when you're straight crushing CVEs out here?
Yeah. So I don't know how much I can share. So
okay. Well, if you want to punch, that's fine too.
I'll say yes. So we have a high focus on research, which is why if you look at Rhino stuff, we have a lot of research going out, and we do get research bonuses when we publish good, solid research that gives back to the community. Okay,
thank you. That sounds, and you got promoted, right? I mean,
and I got promoted. Yeah, that's cool, and that comes with obviously a salary raise as well. So yeah, that was neat. And I have some cool Rhino gear somewhere. I should have worn it. Usually, like, all I wear every day is a black hoodie and pajamas because I work from home. So this is my outfit.
No, I love it. Hey, like, I mean, living the dream, hacking from your basement, wearing, slides and just chilling.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know another thing you promoted, and I want to reinforce it because I also believe this. Again, I'm not a pen tester. I don't play one on TV. But I have taken TCM Academy's Practical Ethical Hacking course. I have looked at and analyzed the PNPT course path and the PNPT exam. Now, I haven't taken it, but I've been in the industry a very long time. I know what it needs to be, and I know if it's quality or not. And I think it is fantastic. And most importantly, I think it's actually completely practical for what you would be expected to do for the work. So it's basically like vocational training versus what you were saying with something like OSCP, where it's like a CTF. Like, no business is going to be like, hey, like, can you come in for a 2-week engagement and CTF our business? You know what I mean? It's so, like, even the reporting and everything, and just to get your beak wet, if you will, the PEH course by itself is phenomenal. I love Heath, and I love what they're doing. I have their stuff all over the place. My own course is over there on TCM Academy.
GRC Masterclass, right?
Yeah. Hey, someone's got to be the GRC guy. I raised my hand for that one. So I got a question for you. William Chase has a long question. I'll pull it up for a moment and then I'll bring it back down because it's going to cover like your whole face. But basically, Williams, doesn't have a lot of additional income to be able to devote to some of these expensive trainings. Possibly even, TCM Academy is $30 a month, but maybe that's, not a great option. What would you say is some of the best free training out there that you can grab?
Oh, that's good. So for free training, I know, once again, TCM Security, although they have their academy, they have a lot of like the full 15 hours of the first part of the course on YouTube. Yep. You could piece a lot of that stuff together and get to a really good starting point. I would also advocate for Try Hack Me. I've done a lot of stuff for Try Hack Me, and they have some premium content, but a lot of their content is free of charge, and they always release like this training guide on their blog for free. So it's like, here's all of our free resources if you want to be in offensive security or if you want to be in blue team. So for training, that's where I'd go. And as far as like the sponsors, I was just told about this organization Black Girls Hack, and I know they sponsor things like the OSAP. I think they sponsor the PMPT. They sponsor a lot of training, and you don't have to be a black girl to be part of Black Girls Hack. They have a lot of cool sponsorship opportunities there. So that's another organization I would encourage people to check out.
There you go. And I think it's important, William Chase and others who are listening to this, it's critically important for you to decouple the idea of cost equals value. All right. Like, I don't know why, but people would look at something free and be like, nah, it can't be good. Or like, it's like you subconsciously dismiss it or discredit it as quality. And it's just not true. There's a ton out there. I also want to mention Heath's OSINT class. There's a lot of that on YouTube as well. They've released a lot of that. If you want to giddy up on the OSINT stuff. I'm seeing some other stuff here too. Yeah, actually, that's another thing. Jesse Johnson just said it in chat, and I agree with this. This is something that I like to say quite often. Do the free stuff first. You know, you might find you don't like web application hacking, but you do like network hacking or something. Like, why spend the money and the time and the effort on something that ends up not being what your passion is? So definitely do the free stuff first, and then allocate resources when you need to. The only time I would recommend spending money, again, curious your thoughts on this, Tyler. To me, the only time to spend money is when time is a factor. Like, you need to get a pen testing job in 6 months, or like you're going to have to leave the United States. You know what I mean? Like for international travel or something like that. Or you've got to put food on the plate like now, because you have people depending on you for food. So like, maybe in that case, you know, paying some money for like a curated full on, like something like ACI Learning, where it's like all the content's there and you can bum rush it really quickly, versus having to like scour the internet and go down some fake rabbit holes. But pretty much that's the one time I would recommend it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's spot on. The only other resource, y'all, is my YouTube channel for my self-promotion. I spend like, when I stream at night, I'm on for like 2 to 3 hours working live through machines, explaining everything, each step that I'm doing, comparing it to the real world, and taking questions as I go. So Wednesday nights are when I'm usually on, but I don't have a life. So most nights you can catch me live streaming after my kids are in bed on YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn, just grinding things out.
Let me hit the bell for notifications then. I mean, if you're going live all the time, got to hit that bell.
Hit that bell.
Yeah, so I'll drop a link in chat, or I already did, for Tyler Ramsbey. He's streaming Wednesdays, but he's also streaming almost every day. So I mean, if you like what you're hearing from Tyler today, and Tyler, I can tell you definitively, I know a lot of you already know Tyler, but if you're new here or you don't know this guy, he's really, really, really awesome. Tyler, you're an awesome person.
Thank you.
Very pleasant, very personable, very intelligent, very selfless. You know, like you give a lot. So I love it, and I'm sure you know. I've jumped into your streams before. Sometimes I say hi, sometimes I just lurk or whatever. But I always love it. It's really cool. Plus, I love the fact one thing that you mentioned earlier about like trying to live up to be like John Hammond or whatever. One thing that you get with live streams that I think is far more valuable than you get from produced videos is watching someone struggle, watching someone make a mistake, watching someone Google because they don't know, right? Produced videos, it's like, oh, like in this video, I'm going to show you how I broke this CMS, ding, 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 and like root. And it's like, hit the bell for notifications. And it's like, no, that's not remotely how it worked. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the Hollywood of cyber YouTube content. You know what I mean? Like the misrepresentation of how easy it is or how next level elite you are because like you did it in 3 minutes, but in reality it took you like 5 hours, you know?
Yeah, and it fuels imposter syndrome, right? That was my issue. I'd watch these big creators. I'm like, yo, how? And then that's what I do most of the time. I go into machines completely blind, haven't looked at it ahead of time, and that's my stream is me literally taking like 4 hours to get a user flag because I'm stumbling through all these rabbit holes and threatening to throw my keyboard at my screen multiple times. But we get there, right? We struggle through and we get there, but it shows the struggle, shows the frustration, helps people be like, yo, I'm not the only one who, like, when I try to copy from my terminal does Control-C and stops the process from running. Like, we all do that, but you don't see it on YouTube because they edited that part out.
That's really funny and so true. Like, yeah, there are so many like just common frustrating, like, or I don't know if you get this one too, but like you paste in the terminal and it'll add some like garbage characters at the front.
Yeah.
And then you, especially if it's like a long, then you have to like brutally arrow back and you're just like, I hate it. And also, again, I'm not a pen tester, but I've dabbled. So like when you pop a shell, but you don't have like a full, I guess, TTY, and like everything's all janky and you're like, this is such a busted terminal.
Yep.
I'm like starting to like have PTSD from some of the things I've had to do. Oh my God. It's so good. So many good. Oh gosh, it's already 5:30. I can't believe the time left. We'll do a bit of a rapid fire really quickly. So Matthew Hibbert says you can rap. Is this true?
I can. Did you see my Papa Shell song, Jerry?
No. Is that?
Oh my goodness, dude! You are
for
Advent of Cyber. Go to my YouTube and type in Papa Shell. Yo, for Advent of Cyber, I made an entire theme song for it called Papa Shell, and I think it goes. Oh man,
hold on. Was it abusing unrestricted file uploads or?
No, it's just called Papa Shell. You could literally just.
Hold on. I mean, is it Papa Shell like POPPA like Daddy Shell, or is it Pop space A? Is it Papa?
I just dropped it. I just dropped the name of it in the chat. Here, I'll even find the video.
Okay. Here, I'll just give you I'll give you admin rights and you can Papa Shell. Yeah, I just PAPA. Okay. Hold on.
I even spelled it wrong. Yeah, Papa Shell. You missed out.
Okay. I don't think the last thing you want me to do is start screwing around with my audio routing. But I do look at this hockey stick here. Look at this guy just crushing it. I love it. So you guys won't be able to hear it. Oh, you did burn it in, didn't you? Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, so I know you guys can't hear it, but this is awesome. Go check this out. Yeah, I'm sorry. Unless you can route it through, if you can easily route your browser audio, but trust me, you do not want me. I'm not allowed to touch my mixing board. Like base case and BSEC, the audio files on my team, they get mad when I touch it, so I'm not allowed to touch it. I get to touch the soundboard.
I think Kimberly dropped it over in YouTube, but yeah, I released that song. I used to do some music back in the day, so that's like this microphone super high end. I used to make side money by recording bands and artists and things like that. So yeah, I brushed off my skills and I made the song live on stream as well. So it's like a 2.5 hour stream where we pick out the beat. I wrote the song, recorded it, mixed the song, made the video all while live on stream, and then we released it right at the beginning of Advent of Cyber, all about taking down McGreedy with the THM army. So that's
awesome. That is really fun. So there you go. So the streams over at Tyler Ramsbey's YouTube channel, not just deep cybersecurity education, but also community and all about good times.
Dropping bars, dude.
I do. I love that. I love that you involved the community. I'm such a community person, Tyler. And I just love that you did that with the community as well. Get to showcase more of your skills. You really have had a lot of careers, huh?
I'm telling you, dude, my issue is I have so many interests. Like I still feel like I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I really love cybersecurity, but I love teaching, love instructing, love marketing, love YouTube, like love music. There's so if I'm never a pen tester, truly I'll just pick a different career and run with it. Like it is what it is.
I love it. Yeah. So it won't be any short of, I see people in chat loving you, Tyler. I know you didn't come here to get doted on, but people really enjoying it, loving your content, your all your different stuff. And I also thought it was really good. Like I wish I could play the audio for everybody because the beat is nice. It's a nice beat, and it's also got like bells in it, so it has a bit of a Christmas vibe to it.
I think we looked for like Christmas rap beat when I was on stream trying to find a beat. Went through a bunch of them, but yeah, landed on that one.
Oh, that's very cool. Oh, really quick, Chris Weaver's pointing out here that we have a newcomer. So one thing that we do, Tyler, I know you join the Daily Cyber Threat Brief periodically. I don't know how often you're there at the very beginning, but when we have newcomers, first-timers, are you aware of the first-timer?
Welcome to the party, pal.
Yep, there you go, Alyssa.
Welcome to the party, pal.
There it is. Well, thanks, Chris Weaver, for pointing that out. We love welcoming newcomers into the community because it's all about good times, man. I want everyone to feel welcome here. I want everyone to have an opportunity to learn and benefit and enrich themselves as much as they want. It's so cool. I love it. So we're at time, which is a bummer because it really did go wicked fast. But Tyler, I know you've got the YouTube channel. Obviously, go check them out every Wednesday. Hacking live rooms. Any other like speaking engagements or projects coming up that people should be checking out, or any recommendations for anyone to connect with you?
Yeah, probably best way to connect is YouTube and Discord. So I'm also on the Simply Cyber Discord, so feel free to tag me there. I'm probably like you, Jerry. I get too many notifications. So, but if you tag me, I'll see it and would love to check it out. So Discord is probably the best way to connect with me. I'm often in those weekly meetings as well, just chatting and hanging out. And then yeah, of course on stream, I do some like this past was it Monday, Tuesday, some day recently, I spoke at an in-person event here in South Dakota to about 80 different CIOs and vice presidents of IT. It was all about breaking down this cybersecurity talent shortage. And what I told them is your cybersecurity talent shortage is self-inflicted, right? Well, we have these HR barriers where you need a bachelor's degree, you need these things, like give people the chance. So I love speaking at events like that. Just once again, trying to open up this field to more people who don't fit your stereotypical category. So that's the most recent speaking one. I don't think I have any big speaking events coming up. I'm waiting for DEF CON to give me a keynote spot, but they haven't done that yet. Or I know Dual Core was at DEF CON last time. So I'm also waiting for DEF CON to be like, hey, Tyler, you want to come rap Papa Shell on the stage in the chill out room? So I'm speaking into existence. You guys are going to hear Papa Shell chill out room DEF CON 2024. We'll see if it happens.
I'll be there. I'll be in Vegas in August, and I'll definitely check that out. That is just so you know, getting a CVE is on my career, life vision board thing. And speaking at Black Hat, speaking at DEF CON are up there. Keynoting DEF CON. Now that's I'm being realistic, and I'm not going to reach for that. But speaking there, getting the DEF CON speaker flag, I feel like that's like on the same par as like the silver YouTube play button is having that. Like you can't buy that. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I want to remind everybody really quickly that at 7 p.m. tonight, Slay Security Plus will be streaming live. I don't know if you've ever checked that out, Tyler, but it's another member of the Simply Cyber community, Jesse Johnson.
I'm going to speak there soon. We actually talked about tonight, but it didn't work with my schedule. But yeah, love him. Love what they're doing. Him and Justin Gold.
Yeah, another musically gifted individual. Maybe he could play. I don't know what instrument might work well with you rapping over it, but he could do that. We might even be able to form something. Joe Hudson. I don't know if you know Joe Hudson, but he does a lot of music stuff. He was a backup dancer for Britney Spears in the late 90s too. So here's Slay Security Plus. Check this out at 7 p.m. tonight if you're studying for Sec Plus, or you just want to meet other people who are at that stage of their professional cybersecurity career. All about good times. Love what Jesse's doing with the Slay Security Plus. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Tyler, thank you. Like literally, thank you so very much. I agree with what I'm seeing in chat. I loved this conversation. I was having a really rough day, and the last hour has been an absolute amazing just departure from what my day has been like. So selfishly, thank you for giving me that. And for everybody in chat, I really, really hope you enjoyed the show. Definitely go check out Tyler's YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications because you never know when he's going to go live, right? You never know.
It's like a Christmas present.
Yeah.
Every night.
Are you going to stream tonight, you reckon?
No. So actually I box. That's the other thing I do. I box and spar, like get in a ring and fight people. And Thursday nights I spend 2 hours at a boxing gym and I get punched in the face. So that's where I'll be tonight. So no live stream tonight. Instead I'll be fighting.
All right. Well, there you go. The Renaissance man, Tyler Ramsbey, pen tester and BA, just out here crushing it. Guys, thanks so very much. I really appreciate all of you. Be sure to come by Simply Cyber tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for our daily cyber threat briefing. It's a 1 hour stream, and it gives you everything you need to know to crush the day for the rest of the day. On behalf of Tyler Ramsbey, I'm Gerald Auger. Thank you all so very much. And until next time, stay secure. If you enjoyed that content, keep the cybersecurity train going by connecting with the other Simply Cyber community resources. We have the Discord server that's lively and always keeps the conversation going. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. And also every single weekday morning on the Simply Cyber channel, we're doing live daily cyber threat briefings, 8 a.m. Eastern time, as well as Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We're doing live stream interviews with industry experts, and we produce videos that we push out every Wednesday morning. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber.